these companies can't stay true to their own traditions, their own identities. They can't appeal to their own customer base because the leadership of the companies have been specifically structured to destroy those traditions and alienate the customer base. Cracker Barrel has responded to the backlash over its rebrand attempt, and here's their statement that they just published on their website. Headline of the statement, or the title, is Our Promise to You. If the last few days have shown us anything, it's how deeply people care about Cracker Barrel. We're truly grateful for your heartfelt voices. Sure they are. You've also shown us that we could have done a better job sharing who we are and who we'll always be. What has not changed and what will never change are the values of this company was built on when Cracker Barrel first opened in 1969. Hard work, family, and scratch-cooked food made with care. Blah, blah, blah. The things people love most about our stores aren't going anywhere. Rocking chairs on the porch, a warm fire in the hearth, peg games on the table, unique treasures in our gift shop, and vintage Americana with antiques pulled straight from our warehouse in Lebanon, Tennessee. We love seeing how much you care about our old timer. We love him too. Uncle Herschel will still be on our menu, on our road signs, and featured in our country store. While our logo and remodels may be making headlines, our bigger focus is still right where it belongs. Yada, yada, yada. We also want to be sure that Cracker Barrel is here for the next generation of families, just as it has been for yours. That means showing up on new platforms and in new ways, but always with our heritage at the heart. So that's after they get through, 4 or 5 paragraphs, they finally get to the justification. Well, we want to make sure that Cracker Barrel is here for the next generation. Well, was it not here before? So you had to change the logo and make your stores generic to make sure that it's here for the next. Like, it was here. It was already here. The next generation could go to Cracker Barrel the same way that. Were they not able to see it? Was there some sort of? What are you saying exactly? But it's always a good sign when you have to write an entire novel to explain your company's rebrand. Isn't that a good sign? Isn't that what you're going for? No, I think actually, no, I don't. I think a rebrand is it's like a joke. I mean, this rebrand was a joke, but it didn't intend to be. But it's like a joke. If you have to explain it, then it didn't work. You want to do most rebrands are a mistake. Like most of the time, if there's a rebrand happening in general, doesn't matter the context. Any company, any product, most rebrands are bad. And that's because one of the reasons why a rebrand happens is because you have a bunch of people in the corporate office and in the marketing department who need to justify their jobs. And a rebrand is just a way, it gives them something to work on for a while. And that's one of the main reasons why a rebrand happens in the first place. So, but if it's going to work at all, then it should be intuitive. It should just sort of click and you shouldn't have to explain it. If you have to explain it, then it means that it didn't work, and now Cracker Barrel is screwed. Everyone hates the new brand. You become a punchline. You can't really scrap the whole thing and backtrack because that's incredibly embarrassing. I mean, you should do that. You should just backtrack. You should apologize and say, hey, this was a terrible idea. We're going to fire everybody responsible for it. Clearly, if you're on a marketing team and and you have some sort of great marketing idea, and this is the response, if it leads to a PR catastrophe, then everybody associated with it should be fired the next day. I mean, this is obviously. So that's what they should do. They should say, look, we fired everybody. We're starting over and we apologize. We're going to go back to how it was before. And that's it. But they're not going to do that. They also can't really double down. So they're stuck sort of apologizing and begging everyone to be nice to them and give them a chance. And so it's just an all-around catastrophe, a catastrophe for Cracker Barrel anyway. But it was also inevitable. And this was inevitably going to happen. Cracker Barrel was destined to alienate its customer base in the same way and for the same reason that so many other major corporations and products and entertainment companies have alienated their customer bases. This is happening all across the corporate world, as we know. And the reason, put aside ideology for a moment. I mean, ideology plays a part, obviously, but the real reason, before you even get to the politics of the people that are in charge of these companies. The reason is that these companies have basically banished straight white males from their ranks. And you really have to understand and appreciate the extent of this campaign. Okay? Now, keep in mind that corporate America, as most people know, used to be run almost exclusively by straight white males. That's how it used to be. Cracker Barrel 20 years ago was almost certainly run. I don't know who was in charge of it. If you went back and looked at a flow chart of Cracker Barrel 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I'm guessing you're going to find that there's a whole bunch of straight white males. Maybe a few women here and there, but straight white males. Now, in recent years, that demographic has been run out of town, not just at Cracker Barrel, but in the corporate world generally. You're familiar with the phrase demographics are destiny. Well, that's true. And it's not just true of countries, it's true of companies too. If you radically and intentionally change the demographics of your leadership structure, it will end up radically changing the services and products that your company provides. And now these companies, Cracker Barrel is a prime example, don't know how to appeal to their own target audience. They don't know how. The new Cracker Barrel doesn't know how to be the old Cracker Barrel. That's not to make an excuse for them. But the people running this company, like, they can't. Cracker Barrel was this kind of down-home Americana sort of thing. And the people running the company, they don't know how to do that. And in particular, the people that are in charge of the marketing and PR at these kinds of companies, they literally don't know how to appeal on those lines to that sort of crowd. Now, when I first saw the rebrand, how they got rid of the old white guy on the logo, how they decluttered the restaurants, made them all look like a Joanna Gaines house. When I first saw that, like so many other people, before I even saw anything about the CEO or anything else, I saw that. My first thought was, okay, well, they put a bunch of women in charge. It's very obvious. This is very obviously the work of upper class, urban, liberal women, mostly under the age of 50. Like, this is you see that, you look at the restaurant, you see what they've done with it, you look at the logo, and you immediately know, okay, this is liberal urban women from corporate America, 50 to 55 and younger, and also probably some gay men. That is who is responsible for this. And that is the group, by the way, that runs like everything now. I mean, they're in charge of they've taken over everything. And not because they've earned it or they've achieved it, but because they've been put into these positions artificially in the name of DEI and feminism and, girl boss feminism and all that sort of thing. And when I say that this group these liberal, urban, corporate women, when I say they've taken over everything, it's even worse than you think. And it's worse than I thought. But you have to sort of dig into any particular example to really see it. So again, just using Cracker Barrel as a microcosm, as an example, I want to show you just how radical and total this takeover is. So I spent like 5 minutes on Google, and this is what I found. Just to show you the people who we can assume were primarily responsible for this rebrand. So first of all, as we all know by now, we have the CEO, female, Julie Fells Massino. Woke woman, comes from the corporate world. Probably never eaten at a Cracker Barrel in her life. So we know about her. Next, we have the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer. Obviously, this person very heavily involved in everything that's happened. This is a person who just came on recently in the last year. And that person's name is Sarah Moore, obviously a female. Another key player, presumably, is Cami Spilliards Schaefer, Senior Vice President, Chief Restaurant and Retail Operations Officer, female. Now, I'm not cherry picking, by the way. I mean, there are some men on the management team. If you go to the website, you can see that. But they mostly have positions like CFO, their financial supply chain officer is run by a man. presumably not as involved in marketing and branding. Cami Spilliard-Schaefer, on the other hand, is one of the Cracker Barrel executives who's been on the record issuing statements to justify and explain the rebrand. So we can assume, also she's in operations, so we can assume that she's involved in this. So we have Julie Massino, Sarah Moore, this other woman, all women. Now, in fairness, there's one guy, Chris Edwards, who's the chief strategy officer. Sounds like a title that may be involved in something like this. I have no idea if Chris Edwards is a straight male or not. I have no clue. But he is a male, so that's one. If you're still stressed about back taxes, maybe you missed the April deadline or your books are a mess, don't wait any longer than you already have. The IRS is cracking down. Penalties add up fast, 5% per month, up to 25% just for not filing. But there's help. Tax Network USA can take the burden off your shoulders and stop the spiral before it gets worse. They've helped thousands of Americans, whether you're an employee, a small business owner, or haven't filed in years. Messy books, no problem. They've seen it all and know exactly how to clean it up. With direct access to powerful IRS programs and expert negotiators on your side, Tax Network USA knows how to win. You'll get a free consultation, and if you qualify, they may even be able to reduce or eliminate what you owe. More importantly, they'll help protect you from wage garnishments or bank levies. So don't wait for the next IRS letter. Call 800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Walsh to talk to a real expert at Tax Network USA. Take the pressure off. Let Tax Network USA handle your tax issues. But then you keep going. So let's take this deeper. Like I said, this is 5 minutes on Google. Cracker Barrel is something called the Marketing and Customer Engagement Team. And if you go to theorg.com, which is a website that, the whole point is transparency for corporate, for companies and organizations, and you can look at their leadership structure. So you go to org.com, you look up this Marketing and Customer Engagement Team for Cracker Barrel, and it tells you that this team, quote, focuses on enhancing brand visibility and customer loyalty through targeted marketing strategies and companies. Led by the chief marketing officer, the team leverages customer data to personalize experience, drive engagement through digital marketing initiatives, and develops loyalty programs that resonate with guests, all while ensuring that the Southern Country theme is consistently communicated across all channels. Okay, so this team, we can assume, probably helped to mastermind this whole initiative. I mean, that's their job. They come up with stuff to enhance brand visibility. So this is a team that, this is the team for this. Well, the org then lists the 8 people on this team. And again, I'm not cherry picking. This is just what the website says, not being arbitrarily selective. The entire team, the whole team are women. The entire team, all 8 of them. There's 8 of them on this marketing and engagement team. All women, run by the CMO, also a woman, who reports to the CEO, also a woman. I mean, that doesn't happen naturally. That doesn't happen. That's not like Darwinian evolution in the corporate world. This is not dog eat dog. This is not the dog eat dog corporate world that we're used to, where just the best, most ruthless person rises to the top. But we're still not done, because Cracker Barrel had help in coming up with this brilliant marketing pivot. In fact, they brought on a very expensive PR firm called Blue Engine. Blue Engine also has a female CEO. So the CEO of the company is a woman, chief marketing officer, woman, operations woman, marketing engagement team, all women, head of the PR firm they hired, woman. Again, that doesn't just happen, okay? You don't end up with women running everything unless you set out to make that happen. And actually, I have to tell you, to be honest, I was trying to look up Blue Engine, and it was a little confusing because there's like 3 different organizations with that name, and they all kind of they all sound fake. Like they all sound like not real companies. And so it's very similar. It's like very similar branding, very similar sounding organizations. And I don't know if they're somehow facets of the same or whatever. But looking into them, like, I don't know which Blue Engine it is. All 3 of them have heavily female leadership teams with very few white males. Like, for example, I was looking up Blue Engine. The first one I found was this one. I'll put it up on the screen. This is a different Blue Engine. This is not the PR firm. As far as I know, as far as I can tell, this is not the PR firm that worked with Cracker Barrel, but I'm just putting it up because this is the first place I Googled. I saw this. And it it's like I said, you just look into any of these woke companies, look at the leadership structure, and what do you find? So this is a group that works with classrooms, actually. Unfortunately, they bring equity into the classroom or some such nonsense. And anyway, what do you know? Look at the almost entirely women in leadership. 16 people, like 2 white men, 10 or 11 women, and the rest are Hispanic guys. But that's a different Blue Engine. Our Blue Engine does have a female CEO, apparently, no surprise. So women are in charge of this thing at like every level. Woke, corporate, urban women in charge. It's insane. Actually, it's not insane. It's exactly what you'd expect. And to be clear again, take any other example of some corporation going woke, alienating their customers, destroying whatever made them beloved and iconic. Any other example, and do this same exercise, and you'll find the same results. You'll find that straight white men in leadership have been wiped out, and they've been replaced by women, gays, and minorities. I mean, that's what's happening. And there's a reason why I could just assume that this was the case with Cracker Barrel without even looking at it. Like, okay, yeah, women run the whole damn thing. And then you look it up, and it's like, yeah, it's almost exclusively women in charge of this. These companies can't stay true to their own traditions, their own identities. They can't appeal to their own customer base because the leadership of the companies have been specifically structured to destroy those traditions and alienate the customer base. And any company. Just take another random example. I was curious about this because the NFL has been in the news again. Well, the NFL season is almost upon us. The NFL's been in the news again for like woke nonsense. I'm an NFL fan, I admit, unashamedly so, but I'm not a fan of corporate NFL. And they've been doing a bunch of woke stuff recently. They're putting the dumb slogans like that said end racism and, be nice and don't hate people, whatever. They had those slogans on the field for a couple of years. They took them off. Now, apparently, they're putting them back on. And then also they're introducing male cheerleaders. I'm sure you've seen this on social media. And when I first saw that, I thought, well, haven't we always had male cheerleaders? That's not new. Well, this is new because it used to be the male cheerleader played the male role. And so those were just the guys that were basically there to throw the women in the air, right? But the male cheerleaders that some of these teams are bringing on now are playing the female role. Now, they're not like trans, so they are males, but, well, trans are male too, but they're not pretending to be women, but they are playing like the feminine role. So this is a woke cheerleading thing. So I was curious. And I looked up the NFL's leadership team. The first thing that popped up was this. Now, this is not the team that would decide to put end racism on the field. At least I don't think they would. This is the football operations team. So they have a more important job in the NFL. They are actually in charge of the game itself, in charge of the football operations themselves. And this team, according to the website, works to honor the game's rich traditions and position the sport for long-term success. Now, this is football we're talking about. This is why I think this is an instructive example. No woman has ever played football in any kind of actually competitive capacity. No woman's ever done that. There have been a few women who were place kickers and at the college level for a couple of games, and then they washed out. There was that one, I forget her name, but they made a big deal out of this. Whoa, she's a woman, she's playing NCAA. And then she goes to do a kickoff and she kicks it like 30 yards. They tried to claim that it was a squib kick, even though it was a situation where you would never squib kick it. And then we never saw that woman ever again. So in reality, no woman's ever contributed anything meaningful to the game of football, ever. Okay, women contribute meaningfully to society in many ways. They've never contributed to football, ever, in any meaningful way. Every single person in the country who has significantly contributed to the game of football has been a man. Every single one. Now, let's look at the people entrusted to honor the game's rich traditions. And you scroll down. And you look at this. Look at all these women. I mean, this is NFL operations. None of these women could possibly have any meaningful football experience. There is no way in hell, there's no possible way that any of them were more qualified than the hundreds of male candidates that were passed over for their sake. And look at all these women. This is a team of like 18 or 19 people. Almost half of them are women. How many straight white males? Keep in mind, many of the most iconic figures in the history of football have been straight white males. Players, coaches, owners. How many are on this leadership team? I count 3, maybe 4. Out of 19? The highest ranking one is 8 rungs down the ladder, vice president of replay training and development. And this is football. So if this is happening to this extent in football, it's so much worse everywhere else. Straight white men have just been run out everywhere. And not because of lack of performance. I mean, there's no demographic in the country or in the entire Western world that's achieved more than white men. I'm sorry, it's just a fact. And I've said before, you could test me on this, go down a list of the 500, let's say 1,000 greatest innovations, achievements in the history of Western society. And how many of them were not done by white men? 2% at most. So we've taken this group and we've said, no, we don't need you anymore. We don't need you running Cracker Barrel. We don't need you running football. We don't, even the places where you would think you'd be like most suited, we don't even need you there. A decision was made to eject this group and ostracize them. And has it made anything better? Has it made anything better? Take any organization that has gone out of its way to bring down the number of white males in leadership. Have any of those organizations improved as a result? Any of them? And we all know the answer is no. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.